Also, a new episode of Loose Women, the podcast, is out today. And on this one, Christine and Nadia are talking. And one of the subjects they discuss is Christine's childhood, growing up in Northern Ireland during the Troubles and how that impacted her.
I remember my dad was a musician, so he was out on the road all of the time. And it was at a point where people were going into various bars and clubs and just shooting around them. And there were many musicians had lost their lives in various atrocities over the years back home. And I remember having a terrible, what I didn't realise it was anxiety. There was no term for it then. It was it's what you felt in your gut. But I remember as a very young child having complete and utter panic that Dad hadn't arrived home. And of course, by the nature of what he was doing, he wasn't coming home to maybe 1 a.m, maybe 2 a.m. I would have had school the next day. I couldn't sleep until I heard him drive up.
Well, very powerful stuff, and, you know, something that clearly she's never forgotten. And that got us talking this morning about how our own childhoods have made us, you know, the people we are today. And, Colin, particularly you, because you were working at, what, 2, 3 years old?
Oh, Ruth.
It's been a hard life.
It's Dickensian, her childhood.
You just wouldn't get away with it now. Yeah, no, I mean, I was working with a family since the age of 2, going around the country, and all 10 of us were singing and all of that. And I didn't know any different at the time, so I can't say that it ruined anything, because I didn't know anything different. I know that as I got older, there were certain things I missed. So when I got to, I think it was about 7, all my friends from school, of which I was hardly ever there anyway, but I did have friends, and they were all going off to join the Brownies. And I remember thinking, oh, I want to do that, I want to do that. And my mum was like, you can't, because we're working tonight in Scotland or somewhere. So I never got to join the Brownies. Those little things that when I then got older and certainly had my own children, I was adamant that whatever, my kids were going to go to school regularly, and also that I was going to be there for every sports day, every, you know, harvest festival or whatever it was, carol concert. And I wanted them to have as normal childhood as possible. And I think where it's affected me is I crave, and still always crave, normality. You know, I don't have any, apart from you guys, but I don't see you a lot, no. And my friends at home are all, none of them are in the business. And I don't know, I just crave, and home is where I just want to be. And I think that's because I had to leave it so many times when I was younger. So I've got this normal... You know, even when people come up and go, oh, you're a celebrity, and I think, I'm really not, because I've never felt... I didn't grow up with an ambition to become famous. I grew up in a singing family that just... that's where life took us. But it wasn't like, you know, I had a normal childhood, and then at 14 or 15 went, I want to be a pop star or whatever.
Did you ever resent your parents? Did you ever look back and think... Well, I never chose that, you know, and I missed going to Brownies, and I missed going to the discos.
No, I've never resented my parents. It's made me wonder how they ever did it. And I remember thinking when, you know, for instance, I had a real moment when Kira was about 2 or 3 and she was absolutely exhausted. It was about 7 o'clock at night, and I was like, come on, bath and bed, and got her all snuggly. And I did think... There must have been moments like that when I was 2 or 3 and my mum was going, well, we've got to go to Wales, we've got 4 gigs to do at the local working men's club. And that made me think, I can't imagine now taking my kids to do that. No. But it was all we knew at the time. And they, to be fair, that's how we all survived, you know, that's how they kept a roof over the house of 8 kids.
Your moving around wasn't necessarily about work like Colin's, but you moved around a lot as a child, didn't you? Lots of schools.
Yeah, I was just struck by what Colin was saying there as well, though, because obviously memory is so subjective, you know, what you choose to remember, what the reality was. I think it's very difficult being a parent. I realise that now, having, you know, raised 2 of my own. But I was very much a child, you know, 1970s kid. My parents split up. My mother used to move every single time she had any kind of emotional problem. So I went to 11 different schools before I left school at 15 and a half. You can see it was the 1970s. Check my hair. This whole programme is going to be about hairdos. Yeah. My bad ones. And we were also Norwegian in Ireland, or half Norwegian in Ireland. So we were the sort of freaky ones at school, and at each school you'd have to deal with that on top of everything. I guess in the long run, you know, the positive thing is it makes you more resilient. I suppose, on the other hand, it makes you perhaps a bit careless about nurturing relationships and things, because, you know, I've got a friend who goes off to America to film for 6 months of the year, and when she goes, after about 3 months, she's like, any chance of a phone call or a what, anything, you know? And I sort of think, well, I'll see you when you get back. And I think it makes you...
You're not so sentimental,
yeah, not
perhaps.
so, well, yeah, not so sentimental. But I think it also makes you... I mean, the thing that really strikes me about Colleen's story is just... I wanted my kids to have the most secure childhood ever and no moving. And in fact, when we moved from London out to Somerset when they were quite little, I felt like I'd betrayed them because of this hugely disruptive thing of moving school at 7 and 8. And I, you know, I've tried so hard to just keep it like a home place where we all centre around. And I kind of feel... That's a good thing, but they'll probably resent it and wish we'd moved all the time.
They might do something different.
Yes,
because you just never know what your children are going to think. I almost don't want to know what they're thinking right now. But Janet, you've talked a lot about your childhood and that you felt almost like your parents couldn't possibly be your parents. Because
well, I used to look at them and think...
Do you think they thought that about you?
Probably, because I wasn't, you know, I was very... No, I mean...
That's what she looks like in our morning meetings.
She's never lost that face.
Never lost that face.
All right, I worked hard to get that face. No, I used to, like, look at them as an observer in a very dispassionate way. I can see that now. And my mum and dad and my sister seemed like a unit, and I was, like, a bit different. I was very tall and gangly and I didn't fit in easily at school. So I made my own world and I was reading all the time and drawing and painting and writing in my notebooks. I kept diaries. You know, I've got all my diaries still.
Is that with your secret code?
My secret code diaries. And then, obviously, I worked in the library as well. So I was very studious. But... obviously, when I became went into my teenage years, then I led the classic double life, and they had no idea what I was up to. And you know, the mad story of Janet Street Porter, you know, naughty Janet, really takes off. So looking back on that childhood, I think I developed my personality myself in a reaction against them. I mean, as parents, well, if I had to rate my parents, obviously they were good in terms of they cared for me, looked after me, nurtured me. Did I feel close to them? Not really.
Do you think they knew you didn't feel close to them?
I think that my mother and I were at war right up until her death. I mean, it never really started. It calmed down a bit. We could talk to each other for about 3 minutes without a row. With my dad, I always got on better because we managed a conversation. But it's made me... I understand where you two are coming from about your home. I place a great deal of value in my home and my possessions around me. I can almost not bear someone else to come in and bring their stuff in. And I think that is really difficult.
I'm a bit like that boarding school girl, you know, in army houses, and I'm very territorial. Like, I put my mug there, Colleen, you know, my highlighter pen there.
This is my world.
Just to say, we mentioned the podcast. You can listen to that new episode of the Loose Women podcast right now, along with all the other episodes so far. Go to the place you usually get your podcasts, or you can watch it on YouTube, ITVX, and the STV player.